Back in late 2019, Nissan pulled something quite unexpected out of the hat with the original Navara N-Track Warrior. In fact, some critics believe that the original Warrior was the best modern Navara you can buy and a credible alternative to more expensive propositions like the Ford Ranger Raptor. Now there's the Warrior 2.0. Based on the substantially facelifted Navara released in early 2021, it promises to improve the already impressive off-road chops of the original. Let's see if Premcar has made an even better version of the Navara. Hey, we know you're busy, so we've got time codes on screen now and chapter markers on the YouTube timeline below if you want to jump to something that you're more interested in. Or alternatively, you can go to carsguide.com.au and read the full review right there. Nissan released the facelifted Navara in late 2020, and with it came a bigger, blockier front that is reminiscent to the larger Titan that our North American viewers will be quite familiar with. This time around, the Warrior is based on the new Pro-4X sporty version of the Navara, and it features flared wheel arches as well as those graphics that look like they were designed for and by hobbits for The Lord of the Rings. I mean, look at them. Peter Jackson would be very proud of those graphics.
Of more importance is the Nissan's wider stance, thanks to larger wheels. Like before, it sits 40mm higher due to raised suspension and bigger tyres for much improved ground clearance. The redesigned bull bar, again with an integrated LED light bar, is now winch compatible, and that's a direct change thanks to owner feedback from the last model. There's also substantially greater underbody protection up front thanks to a longer and stronger bash plate. Again, because buyers of the old model asked for that.
And speaking of experience, Premcar makes sure that this time around the paint used on this new bull bar is chip resistant, which means that they've been listening to what the customer says as well. Good on you, Premcar.
With 40mm of extra ground clearance at a lofty 260mm, the Warrior's approach angle increases to 36 degrees even with a bull bar fitted, while the slightly reduced departure angle of 19 degrees is offset by the inclusion of a standard full-sized alloy spare wheel. Cooper Discoverer all-terrain tyres are also set to provide more grip and less noise on and off-road. Speaking of going off the beaten track, the MY21 Navara facelift changes mean new Warrior's tracks are now 30mm wider than before for better stability, backed up by upgraded dampers and spring rates that provide both a softer ride and greater control across a broader spectrum. A larger and taller jounce bumper up front also provides increased wheel movement control and less abruptness at maximum suspension travel. That's got to be good.
Premcar says that the Warrior 2.0's GVM is now 3,250 kilograms. That's 100 kilograms more than before, which translates to a payload of 961 kilograms if you buy the 6-speed manual version, or 952 kilograms if you, like 95% of every other buyer, sticks with the 7-speed automatic. And the tow bar is specific to the Warrior. As before, the Warrior 2.0 sits right at the top of the Navara range and is of course based on the Pro-4X Warrior series.
The Warrior looks apart with full LED headlights, LED daytime running lights and LED tail lights, while the bull bar is winch compatible and houses a row of LED light bars as well as LED fog lights. You'll also find black roof racks and rear sports bar, 17-inch alloy wheels with a full-size spare, an electric sliding rear window that's unique to Navara, and a Warrior-specific tow bar. Inside, there are leather and leather-like seat facings with specific stitching, an 8-inch touchscreen multimedia system with sat-nav, digital radio and smartphone mirroring, privacy glass, keyless entry, push-button start, surround view camera, front and rear parking sensors, and plenty of other safety spec besides. More on that later. Of course, to help get to where you need to be, the Warrior also features hill start assist, trailer sway control, hill descent control, and an electronic locking rear differential as well.
Now, when you step inside the Warrior, one of the first things you notice is just how fundamentally different it is from every other Navara. Said no one ever. Actually, it's just like every other Navara Pro-4X you could buy since early 2021, which means leather/leatherette seats that are nicely finished with some attractive patterns and Pro-4X labels, a nice 3-spoke leather steering wheel. The dashboard, let's face it, it dates back to 2014 and it looks it. The 2021 update did bring a upgraded multimedia system with Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, that 360-degree view camera, which is a boon for off-roading and, of course, for driving around town. Improved instrumentation, you've got the digital speedo, as well as the regular analog dials, and it's all very attractive, but it's awfully dated compared to, the Great Wall Ute, the Canon, and the new 2022 Ranger, as well as the BT50 Mazda and the D-Max by Isuzu, which of course are related. So fundamentally, this is a mid-2010s car inside that's been upgraded in small ways. I love the fact that the Navara is unique in having a powered sliding rear window in the back, which is operated from a button down here. And I also find the seats are comfy, the driving position's good, despite there being no reach adjustability for the steering, which is annoying. I wish car makers would remedy that. Vision's pretty good. It's not as good as it used to be in the Navara because it's got that larger, more bulbous bonnet that gives it that Titan look that I was talking about earlier. And the rear is a little bit cramped for a medium pickup truck, but the seats itself are fine. You have amenities such as air vents and cup holders in the center armrest, and of course the backrest folds, and it also lifts. And there's a little bit of storage down there, a bit of hidden storage. It's all extremely par for the course as far as pickup trucks are concerned. But what the Pro-4X Warrior has that no other truck in the world has are these. I'm just going to demonstrate to you. Headrests with embroidery. Now, I don't know about you, but I'm sure that most off-road adventurers love a bit of haberdashery, and thank you Pro-4X Warrior and Premcar and Nissan for supplying such a stylish thing. Like, is there anything more comfortable than a bit of embroidery in the back of your head? So that's how you know this is a Warrior, folks.
Still, you'll find most safety essentials here, like 7 airbags, AEB autonomous emergency braking, forward collision warning, lane departure warning, intelligent lane intervention, blind spot warning, surround view monitor with moving object detection, off-road monitor, rear cross traffic alert, high beam assist and rain sensing wipers.
One more thing. The Warrior, like all Navaras, scores a 5-star NCAP crash test safety rating, but that was tested all the way back in 2015, which means that if it was tested today, it probably wouldn't achieve such a high result. Which means, of course, that this Warrior is no spring chicken. Now, let's see what's under the bonnet, speaking of no spring chickens. Unfortunately, Premcar wasn't able to change the outputs from the regular Navara Pro-4X, which means that you're stuck with a 140 kilowatt, 450 newton meter, 2.3 litre, twin turbo, 4-cylinder diesel. It's mated to either a 6-speed manual or 7-speed torque converter automatic transmission, and of course goes through a part-time 4-wheel drive system. So how does this all drive? Let's find out. Actually, the performance isn't too bad at all. Nissan really has done a good job in tuning the responses of this car. So when you put your foot down, you get instant go. There isn't lag. There isn't just the lack of performance that you might expect from a small capacity engine like this. And let's face it, Nissan's had this engine in production for around 8 years. So they've done I've had a fair amount of time to finesse it, and that's what they've done. The result is a car with fairly strong acceleration, certainly enough around town, and as long as you're willing to rev it and put the foot down when you need to overtake and that sort of thing, the performance is there. So that's not a bad thing. The other thing is the twin turbo engine is fairly muted. I mean, it's still obviously a diesel, but even when it's working hard and it's revving to its 4,500 RPM red line, it doesn't sound strained or too loud or too intrusive, and that's a good thing. The whole Navara experience became quieter and more civilized with the 2021 facelift, because Nissan did a fairly good job in strengthening the platform, making it a little bit more rigid, and working on noise, vibration and harshness properties. So it is a more refined machine and more in keeping in line with its $70,000 asking price. The Navara is remarkably agile, actually. These are wet roads, they're a bit slippery, it's raining, it's also sunny, so it's steamy and humid, and I'm driving it at the speed limit that you would a normal car, and this is a ladder frame chassis truck. Granted, it's got coil sprung rear end like all dual cab Navaras now have at this level, and the next truck to get that with this level off-road ability from a price point perspective is the 80,000 plus Raptor, the Ranger Raptor. So given that that's the reality of the market, I think Nissan has priced this car extremely competitively. Now, in terms of steering, it's not great in terms of feedback. There's nothing sporty or enjoyable about the way the Navara handles, but it's absolutely fine, and it's quite workmanlike in the way it just corners where you want it to go. You point it and it turns in with, it's not fast, but it's precise, and that's all you could hope for. But the really surprising thing is, given that this car is riding on off-road focused tyres and it's on a 260mm platform in terms of ground clearance, and has off-road rated shock absorbers and spring rates and that sort of thing, it doesn't feel any less wieldy than, in fact it feels more wieldy than a regular Navara. It doesn't feel cumbersome, it doesn't feel like it's a handful, and it rides well. It actually is surprisingly good in the way it rides. Now, you can't really tell on this road because it's not that bad, but earlier on, during some really rough stuff, there was no harshness, and you could never say that about the previous D23 Navara. So, the work that the people at Premcar have done in order to make this car more enjoyable to drive, more comfortable to sit in, and more capable off-road and on-road is palpable. So well done, Premcar. Probably my only real criticism is that there is still a slight amount of lateral body shimmering. It's happening right now on this road I'm driving along. It's not bad, there's a little bit of vibration coming through the steering wheel and I can feel it in the seat of my pants, but it's not bad. We've experienced better in newer vehicles mostly, and more expensive vehicles, to be fair to Nissan. Another thing about the performance of the Warrior is that Nissan now features a drive mode, which gives you several options to choose from towing to sport to off-road, as well as a standard setting that allows you to choose the type of driving experience you want when you're on-road or off-road. Now, I've put this in sport. That modifies some of the software for throttle response to be a little bit stronger, gear changes to come in a bit earlier, or rather hang on to the ratio a bit longer if required. It doesn't really make the car feel much sportier, but it just does provide a little bit more a little bit more of a little bit more fire underneath the belly of the Warrior, if you like. Speaking of underneath the belly of the Warrior, I just want to point out that Nissan changed more than they let on with the 2021 facelift. So apparently there were changes to the top of the suspension mounts, and some of the components were different, which were done in order to increase the rigidity as well as the refinement levels. And there were two aspects of the old Navara which were constantly criticised by some members of the press, and owners too. That 260mm ground clearance and reduced breakover and approach angles, which we are experiencing right now, come into play with some amount of relief, I've got to say, because I'm not doing anything other than pointing this Warrior in one direction and hoping that the 4x4 system and those newly modified dampers and springs just do the rest. And it does. The basic recipe for a Navara 4x4 is sound. They've always been pretty good off-road, but what Premcar have done is make this a much more capable off-roader. I feel that Premcar have really done their homework, and Nissan certainly should be congratulated for allowing Premcar to put their off-road engineering smarts to play in a package that is clearly suited to this type of thing. So I'm glad I'm in the care of a Warrior. The Warrior 2.0's fuel consumption figures are on the screen right now. Now, keep in mind that the automatic uses more than half a litre per 100 kilometres than the manual version, so that's something to keep in mind if you want to keep running costs down. And speaking of running costs, over to the ownership proposition.
Nissan Australia offers cap price servicing for up to 6 years. Like all Navaras, the Warrior's service intervals are 12 months or 20,000 kilometres, whichever comes first, and you get a 5-year unlimited kilometre warranty as well, which is par for the course nowadays. There's also 5 years roadside assistance available as part of the package.
Have no doubt, the Warrior 2.0 is the best version of the modern Navara you can buy. And don't forget, if you want to know more, you can read the full review at carsguide.com.au. Thanks for watching.